Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Intentional Productivity Tips. I am Megan, and I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner, and I want to thank you for spending some time with me. Today, we are going to talk about productivity, as we normally do. This is not a surprise, but today we're specifically going to talk about something that I think is very important for all of us. Today, we are going to talk about tracking your vital information. We're going to talk about tracking your business vital information as we are in the middle of a 4-part series. But before we get started, I want to welcome you again. As I mentioned, I am Megan. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner, and you are watching me on USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube channel. Please take a moment when you get a chance to like, subscribe, and even be notified when new episodes drop. I also recommend you check out USA Global TV and Radio's YouTube site and also the website, because there are some great programs and places and things you'll be able to learn a lot so you can live your best life. And as we all know, that is something that I am very interested in, is supporting you to live your very, very best life. Because when you think about it, we work very, very hard to do what we have done and to get to where we are. So it's important to enjoy it. So today, as I mentioned, we are going to continue with our vital information series. And today we're going to be talking about tracking your business vital information. So let's talk a little bit about that. On today's show, we are going to again talk about tracking your business vital information. What do I mean when I'm talking about business? I mean anything professional, right? It could be if you have a consultancy, if you're working for yourself, if you're an entrepreneur and you have business things you need to track, it's that. If you're working for somebody else and you have employment and business things to track, it's that. I want us to get and spend some time thinking about what is your business situation and what vital information can you track that will be helpful in your future. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody asked you a question or asked you for some information? Maybe they asked you about, hey, where did you have that certification, or where did you have that certificate from that workshop you completed? Or have you ever asked people that have been like, what is your EIN number? Or what year did you become, did you incorporate? All of those things are part of vital information. So today what we're going to talk about is 3 things. We're first going to do our weekly quick tip. We're going to do a business vital information download so you can start to think of, what does business vital information mean for you? What does business vital information mean for you? Then we're going to talk about tracking your business vital information. We're going to talk about identifying what that looks like. And then this week's quick tip, I've got some sample vital business information tracking for you to take a look at. So that is today. We are again looking at tracking your vital business information. As I mentioned, we are in part 2 of a 4-part series. So when we're talking about vital information, I have just defined it as 4 areas. Your personal information, which we talked about last week on YouTube. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, go back and look at it. It's great information for you. Now, this week we're talking about our business vital information. Next week, we're going to talk about tracking your portfolio and accomplishments. And then in 2 weeks, section 4 is talking about tracking your digital footprint. So again, it's all about vital information. And I will be honest, there have been times when I've had clients when I start to talk to them and I ask them, like, what is the business information you need to track? I've had a couple clients that are like, oh, Megan, you work with my productivity. That's not my productivity. And I'll just look at them and say, isn't it? And when you say that to clients, it's kind of funny because they'll just look at you and be like, oh, maybe it is. And I'm not trying to be negative or anything like that, but I just want us to expand our mind and to think about what is the business information we need to track for our lives, depending on our situation. So let's take a minute and look at that right now. Let's talk about downloading your vital business information. As I mentioned, we need to start by identifying what is your current business situation. For example, for me, for years, I had strategic productivity partner, right? I had SPP, I had my own business. Well, last year, my business was acquired. So now I am part of Indelible, which is very exciting. And it also changed the information I needed to have, right? The information I needed to track. So what I would like for you to identify is, what is your business situation? Where is it that you're working? Is it for yourself? Is it for others? Is it a combination of the two? A lot of people do that, and that's okay too. So what I want us to do is, as we have identified our business situation, I want you to do a mental download. And I want you to make a list of all the things you can think of that you would need to track for your business vital information. Before you do that, I have a note for you. As we know with all great things, once we start talking about them, then our mind is going to start to wander and explore. Over the next few days or the next day or so, you will continue to come up with ideas and you'll continue to come up with something. And then it's like, oh, what about that? That's great. That's a good thing. What we want to do is we want to then add it to the process and to what you're working on right now. When we think about this, this is not a transaction. This is not a one-step transaction and we're done. This is a process. And the most important thing is it's yours. So you can do whatever you want with it. So let's start there. Let's start with a mental download. Take a minute and think about, what are the business information and details you need to track? Is it tax filings? Is it employer history? Employment dates? Is it trainings and certifications? Is it project plans and deadlines? Is it benefit information and insurance? Employment agreements? This is one place where we have to also be honest with ourselves and say the value and the experience we have for those of us that are, as we're getting older in our work careers, right? If we're in our second and third decades of our work careers, one of the things I will tell you, when I was in my 20s, I was like, I'm always going to remember this stuff. I will remember what dates I worked places, my positions, who my supervisors were. I'll remember my clients. 10 years ago, when I started SPP, I was like, I'll always remember my clients. But that doesn't always happen because life happens, right? And I'm not trying to say this to be rude to any of my clients. And once I see their names, I'll remember them. But again, our lives are have more stuff, right? It's getting faster with more. So how do we prepare ourselves, right? So when we're thinking about it in this first part, what we're doing is we're wanting to make a list, a mental download of what are the things you want to capture and start tracking for your business vital information. It's important that we start asking ourselves that and start to just, again, brainstorm a list. This isn't a transaction. You're going to have things that come up, and that's good. Add it. Because the goal is for you to have an idea of what vital business information you need so that you can access it. When you think about it, one question, again, when I've worked with my clients and they'll ask me, why are we doing this, Megan? Shouldn't I be working on getting stuff done? And I'll always say, yes, work on getting stuff done. And your deadlines are priority. Absolutely. But spending time and being intentional on things like identifying your vital information is going to help you in the future. We might not realize it right now, but this is one of those things where this intentional investment of our time now will pay off in the future. And there will be a day when we're like, whoo, so glad I've got it. Success is the sum of small efforts, right? Repeated day in and day out. Robert Collier shared that with us, and it is true. When he looked at growing and expanding. It is. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Being intentional about tracking your business information is like laying the foundation for a strong structure. Small actions today lead to bigger achievements tomorrow. So that's why I want us to just start thinking right now. What is your business situation and what is the vital information you need to track? Make a note of that. Start a spreadsheet, start a note, start a document. My recommendation is for you to start identifying and start collecting and capturing information, because you're going to be able to take control of your time and you're going to be able to expand and improve it. One thing you will notice this week is that my pictures for this week are all beach related. These are beach pictures that I took in Santa Barbara and Oceanside, Carlsbad, and Encinitas. And there's a reason, and it is a specific reason why I have beach pictures today. Because for me, as a small business owner, especially when I was expanding and starting SPP, Strategic Productivity Partner, my business, one of the things that I would set for myself is, if I complete this activity, I can go to the beach, right? So when I lived in Carlsbad, those were glorious years when I lived in the Carlsbad Oceanside area, and I was literally 2 miles from the beach. And so there would be days for me when I would be like, okay, if I finish this activity, then I can go to the beach, right? If I'm finished this. And so for me, things like tracking your vital information, or if I complete this, then I get to go to the beach because I have the information I'll need and because I'm doing something good for myself. So today's pictures are to remind you to find and to reward yourself. When you're doing actions like this, you're being intentional with your productivity, you also want to reward yourself. And so figure out, what is it that you can do? Where can you go and say, hey, I've got my stuff done. I can go to the beach. Because I also knew that I knew where my vital information was if I was at the beach and I was contacted. So the first place that we want to start, right? The first place we want to identify. So we just started to identify. So let's talk about, okay, so we're talking about the idea. We're going to track our vital information for our businesses. We're going to start to identify what that looks like. The next thing we want to do is we want to start to categorize and identify, what are the categories of business information we have? For example, is it the mission, vision, and values of your company, your business information, what it is about your services, your programs, your company, kind of that information. Starting with your mission, vision, and values is the most important thing, right? But do you have your business information so you could go? If somebody were to call you and say, hey, do you have a service description? Can you go and grab that? Or if someone were to say, what are the priorities of your business? Can you go and grab that? I will tell you, this is for me a reason, and I did happen to be at the beach that day, and I actually did happen to be here in Oceanside where this picture is. There was a day when I was interviewing to start a new project. It was between myself and someone else to be a productivity partner. And I was walking along the beach one day and I got an email and it was like, hey, do you have a mission, vision, and values to share how you work with us? And so I stopped. I sat on a beach. I sat on a rock. I grabbed my iPhone because my phone had access to everything. I was able to copy and print and paste my mission, vision, values. I sent it to him within a half hour. I had the job an hour and a half later. So again, having accessibility and knowing where things are can pay off. Business information. Again, what is your EIN? Are you an LLC? Are you an S Corp? What day did you file? What day did you form? Do you have your formation documents? Do you have your business information? You know what I'm saying? All of those technical business details that we need. Do you have your filings from your annual reports? Do you have any business licenses that you need? Any certificates or anything like that? What are the business information you need? Do you have passwords and websites? And this is sometimes when people have said to me, well, I don't have my own business. I work for someone, so I don't need business information or passwords. Is that true? Not necessarily, right? Because there's times that I get asked questions about different company. There's been times I've been asked about company information. What is the home office? What is the phone number? Which, let's be honest, not all of us know our phone numbers anymore. And so having your phone numbers is important. But again, having that information, passwords and websites. What are the websites you need to access? Do you need specific passwords for Is it a QuickBooks account, right? We know a lot of times we have personal accounts and we have business accounts. So it's important to separate them out again so you can access them. Do you have vendors or partners or providers you work with? Do you need their information? Business insurance. Again, these are the categories that we're looking at that you can organize your vital information, your business vital information, so it's easy to track. Outreach and publications, domains, contracts. Are there subscriptions, service, and due dates? Right. Are there marketing? One thing that's important and that we a lot of times forget about, again, whether it's our business or someone else's that we're working for, but whatever our business situation is, can we access collateral material? Can we access a logo? Can we access letterhead? Can we access those things that we need to be able to provide information to others? And then financial and employee information. Again, whether it's our business, whether we're providing information for somebody else, when we think about it, when we're talking about our business life, there's information we need to organize. And so I always like to say, what are the information we need? What are the categories? Because once you start setting up your categories, what I'll say is, to me, the categories are like collection, right? They're buckets, they're collection buckets. Because what I can do then is, for example, if I'm doing work one day and I see logos, I'm going to put a copy in my business vital information. So what we're doing is we're setting this process up so we can gather information and so we can identify and place information when we need to. So identifying your personal business categories is super important. So we've again talked about the information. We've talked about details and categories. What are the next steps for capturing your business information? I say personalize. Start always by personalizing your business categories based on your needs. Maybe you don't need insurance. Okay, then don't gather it. Is there something else you need? You know what I'm saying? So what you want to, is there training you need instead? Personalize it for you. Identify your categories. Then identify the documents and information that you need to find. Is it things that are you going to, based on your time and availability, can you gather it now, or is it something you're going to break up into small bite-sized pieces? Be intentional about it. Then prioritize and add to your task list, right? If I know that the first place I'm going to start is with collateral communications, with marketing assets, and with logos, then I'm going to add that to my to-do list, my task list, right? Because remember, if we don't add things to our task list, we're not going to get to it. So that's why we want to make sure that we're being intentional with how we're moving forward with gathering our business vital information. Personalize, personalize, personalize. As you know, I am always going to say one of the best things about productivity, it's our one place in the world where we get to be 100% selfish. It's all about us. It's our productivity. This is your vital information. Personalize it for you. We're going to talk about where to keep it and look at some examples, but I would say it's important for you to identify, where do you want to keep it? What works best for you? Keep updating information as you go. This isn't a transaction. It's going to be a process. Review and adjust regularly. Again, if there's things that you know are going to change, if you've got a new logo, if you've got new material, if you've got a new mailing address, you want to be sure to add that as you go moving forward. And then remember, this is for you. Don't worry about other people's feedback. You need to create this system for you because it's personal. So whatever that looks like, I encourage you to keep on. Remember, organizing vital information saves time by reducing the search for details and increasing productivity. Think about it. We know that in today's world in productivity, we lose hours a day looking for information, right? We know that that's a fact. We lose hours a day looking for information and task switching. When I'm in a project and I'm like, oh crap, I got to go find that to be able to do this. Whenever you do that task switching, you're also adding time to your task. So why is vital information a productivity tip? Because when you think about it, if we have our information someplace we can access, it's going to save us time in the future. And isn't that what it's all about? So what I would recommend to you is to identify, the starting place for you is to identify what are the categories and what is the vital information that you want to track and you want to start to gather. And then make that list for you. And then the next thing is going to be identifying where and how we want to track it. But start with the what. When you're working and gathering your business vital information, start with the what. what is the information I need to capture and where am I and how am I going to do that? Okay, so now let's talk about our weekly productivity quick tip, and it is continuing about your vital business information. So picture it. Once your information is in order, the beach is yours. And I will be honest, that is a mantra that I had for a very long time when I was like, picture it. If I can get this information in one place, then I am free to be able to be at the beach because I have my iPad or my phone. And so I know I can gather and communicate with people. I know I can gather what they need if I'm asked for it when I'm gone. So we want to prepare ourselves. As you know, for me, as I do love the beach. So anything I can do to increase my beach time, I'm going to do, including tracking my business vital information. So let's look at where and how we want to track it. So let's look at a couple examples. So our quick tip this week is looking at what format and how can we track our business information that's vital to us. So I'm going to show a couple of different options. The first option you'll see is a spreadsheet. So using Google, Excel, whatever spreadsheet provider you use, this is where, again, you can have a spreadsheet that has all of the information listed, and then you can dump the information and links into the spreadsheet. And this is where you can also do it by category. And so one place you can start is create a spreadsheet that has each category and just start putting information into that spreadsheet. It's the quickest way to get started. So I'm going to show you two options for vital information. So, right, one of the things we talked about for a business is that you need to have your business vital information. So I have two options here. And this is what I've worked with clients in two different scenarios. When you look, there's a scenario on the left, and that is called business vital information. And so this has, if you are a consultant, if you have your own company, again, this is looking at your business type. Are you a LLC, an S Corp? What day do you file? What day do you need to do any renewals, any registrations? What payment options do you accept? Business licenses that you might need. So when you look at the left example, this is vital business information you would need if you were a business owner, if you had a business that you needed to track information on. On the right is a vital information spreadsheet if you are working for somebody else. Because again, we know that both are options. And sometimes you need information from both. Again, this has your employment information. This has your start date. This has your salary, benefit eligibility. This has reviews. This has your manager, your supervisor, their contact information. Again, if we don't work physically with our managers, we might not remember their phone number or we might not remember their address. So again, if we're able to put things in that are specific for our business vital information. So this first example is a spreadsheet that you can use to track. Now, we know that there are spreadsheets, and as I've mentioned before, I love a spreadsheet and I use spreadsheets for a lot of tracking. There are other tools that we can use. I'm going to show you some specific examples using Monday.com, one of my favorite tools. Monday.com is a great tool to be able to gather and keep and track information as well. So let's look at in Monday, using a tool like Monday, again, it helps you share and track information where you're able to look at and you're able to set up boards. The reason I love Monday is because you have a lot of flexibility, right? You're able to create a lot of boards and views and documents and different things however you want. So for example, this is a board I created for SPP in the past, and this is specifically subscriptions and domains. So you'll notice I've got this board right here, and this is in the board view, where I have what is the item, who is the provider, what is the renewal? Do I renew it annually? Is it lifetime? I also have information about, is it active or is it closed or is it pending? I have information about the cost and the renewal date. Again, for me, when I'm tracking my subscriptions and all of my domains and all of that kind of information, I want to have one place. I will be honest, I have a lot of website domains and I've had a lot throughout the time. And so I track those and I have one place where I've got all my domains listed, right? Same thing with all my subscriptions. I know who is it that I'm using for my video conferencing, Zoom, and when is it that I need to renew. So again, using our Monday boards, the way I did this one is I kind of did the service and then the provider and then provided additional information. This is a Monday board that you can use in order to track. And this one is specifically for subscriptions and domains. I want to show you one more Monday board to track business vital information. So this is to track another way, as we talked about content, collateral communications, logos. This is a Monday board that I created, and I'm showing it to you in two different views. So we've got the traditional board view, and then in Monday, you can create a Kanban view, right? And so for me, I was able to create, hey, what are the types of content that I'm creating? And with Monday, a tool like Monday, you can create views very specific to what you want to be able to see. On the Kanban view, again, you can say, do I want to have the current status? Do I want to have the topic of the content? Do I want to have what I'm working on? What is the next action? Again, using a tool like Monday for your vital information, you're able to personalize it to say, how do I want to track? A great thing about using a tool like Monday is you can give other people access to it. Of course, you could do that to a spreadsheet as well, but it's just a tool that you're able to create and personalize. So this is a great thing that I love about using the Monday board, because again, you can have multiple views. I love a Kanban board. I am a Kanban view lover, so I'm going to use a Kanban view. But again, if you want, you can use a board view. One other reason that I like using something like a Monday to be able to track vital information is because you can also create automations and dashboards to help you. So for example, you'll see a dashboard right here that has a couple of different views where you're able to look at the status and the items, and you can create all different kinds of views. And again, this is where with a tool like Monday, you have a lot of autonomy to be able to create the view, the format that you want, right? So you're able to create a dashboard so you can see how many things am I done with? How many things are currently in process? How many jump starts do I have? How many ABYs do I have, right? Because this is looking at my content. The other thing, as I mentioned, is automations. So again, specifically in Monday, you can create an automation that, for example, one of the things that I put in the tool, and we're going to go back and look at it, one of the things was, are we having issues with this? Is it active, or do we have issues with this subscription, right? So maybe I have an issue with Zoom. And so what I can do with the automations is I can create an automation that says, hey, if my subscription has an issue, if the status of my subscription is at issues, on the 20th of every month, send me a message to say, hey, you've got an issue with this subscription. What do you want to do with it, right? So you can create an automation in Monday, and you can create a message to yourself that says, hey, by the way, there's an issue with this. You want to check it out, right? Or we can create other automations that say, is it a renewal that I want to be aware of? Is it something that I want to change? When is my renewal date going to be? And how much is it going to cost to renew? Again, when we look at our vital information, and I know I've spent quite a bit of time talking about this, the reason is this. You might not create automations exactly like I do, and that's fine. You might not create a dashboard exactly like I do, and that's fine, because this is personalized to you. What I want you to start thinking about is this process in its totality, and how you, with the tools you have, with your business type, and with your personal preferences, how can you create gathering and tracking your business vital information so you have access to it whenever you need it? So this week's quick tip has been about look at the different options. I've shared two options with you today. I've shared tracking them on a spreadsheet and tracking them on Monday. We know there's other tools you could use, Rike, Asana, Odoo. We're not going to worry about all of the different tools right now. What we're going to say is you want to find the tool that works for you. And my goal today was to share some options with you for how you could use a spreadsheet or Monday to track your vital information and to keep on top of it. For example, one of the reasons is like with subscriptions, you can create automations for yourself to let yourself know, hey, by the way, this is going to be, this is renewed. Do you want to renew it or not? You can ask yourself and you can do that. By tracking our vital business information, it makes life better. When you are intentional about tracking what matters, life gets easier. And then we're able to enjoy the life that we've created. So that's why I've spent this week, last week, and we'll spend the next 2 weeks talking about various pieces of vital information in your life. I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to take time. I want you to be invested in what can you track that's going to help your life and help you to move forward. On today's show, we again have talked about tracking vital business information. And this week, as every week, my goal is that you take at least one thing you can take and add to your life to make your productivity work for you. Because this is about changing our relationship with productivity. And it's about having the information and accessing information when we want. I am Megan. I am your very favorite strategic productivity partner. And I want to thank you for being here with me this week. As I've mentioned, this is a 4-part series. Next week, we're going to be looking at part 3. And that is your professional portfolio and gathering your worth accomplishments. Because again, that's important. I hope that this has been valuable for you. And I hope the thought of gathering, taking time to be intentional, to say what business vital information do I want? What do I need to track? And where and how am I going to do that? And creating a plan to get started. I hope that's been helpful for you. Again, I am Megan, your very favorite strategic productivity partner. You have been watching Intentional Productivity Tips with me. I can be found every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, same station, same location. Please, when you get a chance, like, subscribe, and be notified of new episodes. Every week you can see me here on USA Global TV and Radio. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank you for taking time with your productivity because it is important to do. It's important to be intentional. It's important to work harder. That's not what I meant. It's important to work smarter, not harder. So many of us do. So I hope that this time has helped you to be positive and set expectations for your business vital information. I will see you next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. here on USA Global TV and Radio. And now a word from our sponsor.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting. We're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.